How good is that? Kevin Gallagher is the Managing Director and CEO of Santos, and he joins us now here in the main drag of Narrabri because, of course, it's his idea, his passion that brings us the Festival of Rugby. Mate, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Paul. Great to be here.
Now, let's talk about some news elephants in the room, right, which, of course, the past 24, 48 hours about acquisition potential issues there with companies in Abu Dhabi. Straight up, why did this seemingly fall over and why did it seemingly happen so late in the piece?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think, first of all, the job of the board is to look at these opportunities when they're presented to us. And the board, I think, as it's shown in the past, if people are serious about trying to buy the company, they'll always evaluate and engage and look at those opportunities. I think in reality, we gave a couple of extensions of time to XRG, and at the end of the day, the consortium just couldn't get there. You know, they just couldn't get there in the time frame. They couldn't get there, and you know, you'd have to ask them the reasons why, in terms of whether that was the risk around approvals, domestic gas obligations, whatever that might be. I think all of those things play a part, but ultimately they couldn't get there in the time frame, and we're back onto Plan E.
Now, you had quite a detailed conversation with my colleague and friend Ross Greenwood a little bit earlier in the day on his program. That's up on our website if people want to know more about those ins and outs. But again, still on the obvious issue here about there was plenty of suggestions that things like, say, Foreign Investment Review Board, that the Canberra at some point might have sent, you know, more than a smoke signal that this thing wasn't going to happen. Was there a conversation at some point where Canberra made it clear, no, this isn't going to get out of first gear?
Yeah, look, not with us, right? And so ultimately, the approvals for this deal are the responsibility of the buyer, not Santos. And so it's for them to have those conversations. And again, you know, I'm sure whether there were conversations, signals, whatever, or just, you know, risk assessments by the other side, I'm sure all those things play into it, but ultimately that's their decision, and we move on.
So let's talk about Narrabri from the perspective of the future and about what the gas project is, because things are going to ramp up here. Again, very significant project in terms of adding to the energy mix of New South Wales, which flows through to the rest of the country. But give me an idea about the next 12, 24 months in Narrabri and what it looks like here.
So I think the first thing, Paul, is to inform your listeners, your viewers tonight, that the project's been approved.
Right.
Project was approved in 2020, so there's no challenge on that, right? That's the case. Narrabri, if it's up and running, would provide 50% in New South Wales gas requirements for the next 20, 30 years. So it's a fantastic project in terms of its impact it can have for New South Wales and the East Coast domestic gas market. What our focus now on is getting the approvals for the pipeline, because without the pipeline, there's no point building the project. So we're working through that process with landholders, and you know, there's hundreds of those that we've got to sign up to that. We've got 30-odd% of those already signed up. Probably need about 50% or so before we get our licence and our native title award. And again, we're working collaboratively with the Gomeroi Nation to get that to work through that process. Both processes are progressing well. I would hope certainly within the next 12 months we close and finalise those two processes, and then you're looking about 24 months after that to get the project online.
And also, I mean, so that experience that we saw of the idea that visibly the pipeline's underground. So this idea, if anyone has a perception, and obviously there are going to be moments where it's not, but say between a Narrabri and a Newcastle, wherever, right? Most of that is underground. What percent is underground? Give people an idea that obviously there's the transition of building it, but once it's up and running, as we saw on that farm, you can farm over the top of it.
Those who oppose developments like Narrabri tend to describe Santos and companies like Santos as mining companies. We're not miners, we're resource developers, we're gas developers. Yeah. And as you would have seen as you went around the countryside today, our projects are very low impact. And indeed, when the Independent Planning Commission approved the Narrabri project in 2020, in its approval documentation, it stated something along the lines of, they found it very difficult to reconcile the level of concern by those opposing the project with the reality. Yeah. And I think it's just the fact it's very low impact.
Yeah, and I mean, look, again, we're your guests, but obviously there's resistance in some areas, right? No one's pretending it's not North Korea, all of that stuff, right? But again, the experience that I've had in Narrabri, as you can see, we're turning out here, that people are aware of what the project is. They're aware also that things like the power plant, lots of other things, there's lots of employment that goes with it. So I just want to ask, again, a general question about gas.
Yeah.
From the perspective of, again, somebody right in the middle of the game. We understand, nuclear off the table, coal-fired power being closed down, the firming technology, as it's referred to, the stuff that's going to make sure that when the wind doesn't, all the rest of it, when the batteries start to flow, it's going to be gas. But it also seems that there's such complication about us being able to get to things like gas reserves and all of this. Because obviously, naturally, it's here, we want to be able to use it, but we also understand the employment, the taxation, all that comes with doing business with the rest of the world. Are we moving any further towards an East Coast reservation, something that the West nailed a long time ago, something that played out a little bit in the federal election, but are we getting closer there?
Look, I think we are. I mean, the government's got a gas review process ongoing at present, and reservation, I'm sure, is a big part of that. As an industry, the industry's moved a long way to supporting reservation, and that's been quite a journey for the industry. I first called for reservation, and I'm on record as supporting a domestic reservation since 2018. And that's because I've always believed that, particularly for Santos, where we have a very large footprint, geographic footprint in Australia, we're an Australian company. Our home market, our base market is the Australian domestic market. So let's look after our home market first, right?
Yeah.
And that's always been my focus. As I say, now we've got the industry behind it, I think it's inevitable. I don't think it's a bad thing. Now, the true capitalists will always say, let the free market be the free market, right? But I think when it comes to energy and the ability to have energy as a comparative advantage for Australia to support other industries, then just make sure you have enough controls in place to ensure that your local industries and economies are supported.
All right. God love a bit of gas talk, but can we talk footy for a moment or two here?
Right.
So give me an idea about the Festival of Rugby and about how Tim was saying, sat down, had a chat with you in a pub, and you were the great driver, not just behind the idea, but how big the idea could be. Sitting here now, multiple years into it, how does it feel that this is now a highlight to be looked forward to, year in or every couple of years here, or the same in Roma?
Well, I was brought up in a small village in Scotland. You can tell by the accent, right? I'm not a local. And so I had this idea that when I was brought up, we used to have galas and street parties like this. And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could bring rugby to these regions, our strong rugby regions, connect professional elite sportsmen with the fans that probably rarely get the opportunity to go and watch that sort of sport, but bring it to their region. And Santos, if we can play a role in connecting the community with elite sport, fantastic. We should do that. We can do that. But it's also part of social license, being part of the communities. We set off on a mission 8, 9, 10 years ago to start employing more people locally, having more to do with the communities rather than just be a company in the community, right? Correct. Be part of that community. I think that's good for us. It's good for the communities. And people understand what we do. So you talked about there are some people who oppose it. Yes, but not many here.
Correct.
Right? Because we've been working with the communities for a long time to help them understand what we do. And when all the scaremongering goes on, take them out, visit our sites. We'll show you what we do firsthand, educate you on the technologies, the state-of-the-art technologies that we use across our operations. And that builds confidence and support. So it's a kind of win-win-win for everybody, including rugby.
Well, correct. Yeah. And part of, when we were talking to DK and everyone here at the local club, at the Boars, part of what you've done, apart from, you're on the jersey sponsor, fix them, this and that, they're talking about the lasting infrastructure of your relationship and support for them is things like, fixing light towers, about these sorts of things. And I've said this, we do a lot of great stuff with another great company in Harvey Norman in our normal, our towns, as you know, you came to the one, of course, one in Gladstone, I think it was, which is that you want to try to, when you're a company, leave some lasting legacies and help along the way. The idea that it's not just the footy club, it's lots of other things. And if something that is left out of tonight is that little girl has a good memory, that bloke had a good time, the players have a good memory of their experience here, then job well done.
Yes, and look, for me, I can be as arrogant as the next person as a CEO and get excited about you know, I'm going to be the best CEO ever or the worst CEO ever or whatever. Nobody will remember me in 5 and 10 years' time as the CEO of Santos for anything I did with gas. But I'll bet you there's people in the community that will remember in 10, 15, 20 years' time what we've done in those communities if we've made a positive, lasting impact. And so that brings a lot of joy to me, but to our staff, a lot of pride in what we do in the community. So you're absolutely right. When you see over 100 kids signed up for Tim's little coaching school tomorrow, that just shows you how impactful these things can be.
Kevin, thank you for the chat. Thank you for this festival of the next few days, and thank you for the support that you give the community.
And Paul, if I can just say thank you to you, and we've just got a little gift from you, from the people in Narrabri.
Oh, hey.
And it's a wallaby's top with your name on it. Now, we didn't put a number on because we weren't sure if you're a tight prop hen or a fly half, but we'll let you decide.
Well, I'm happy to sit on the bench. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How good's that? There you go. Officially, a wallaby. I might have to stretch this a little, but I'll do my best. Thank you. More in a sec from Narrabri.